Evangelist Nicholas Daniel Francis. First of all, I want to appreciate you for subscribing to Voice of the Mission TV and also watching the educative teaching that is coming up, and you'll be receiving much of it from time to time. And you may ask me that question. I think it's very, very important I give you an answer to that question. Why did I make use of the word Voice of the Mission TV? Actually, I did choose it because it is an interesting title I want to. It was because on the day that God commissioned me as a minister, called as a minister and commissioned, He told me, you are the voice of this mission. I didn't understand what He was saying. But as I begin to study, go to Bible school, begin to study wide, and I begin to see my passion developing for the people to do what they need to do and do it better. And my passion keep increasing. I begin to see myself having interest on the affairs of people's life. And from there, I begin to develop interest of beginning to organize a conference known as Matters of Life Conference that bring us to where we are today. And now we are always going to be discussing on issues of life. And you know, as long as life is concerned, everything around us has to do with issue. Just as you listen to a doctor, a professor, I'm looking at him as a professor because he's going to be there in future. You listen to the teaching about marriage, about being educated. As the director of the Voice of the Mission TV, my own purpose of coming to establish Voice of the Mission TV, you may ask, is to bring an educative information to be able to change your mindset so that you can think on the right path to be able to deliver what God deposits in you in this world that is even corrupt, polluted. But I am convinced that the passion in me is to help you, whether you are a graduate, whether you are not a graduate, as long as you can know something. Because it's not just about going to school, it's all about when you go to school, the information you receive, can you apply it? Can you make use of that information? And so we are conscious of what you can do and do it well to be able to help life and also to fulfill destiny. So my point is it, Voice of the Mission TV that I am becoming the director by the grace of God today, I want you to know that we are coming up to educate you. Don't feel that you are a professor, you are a lecturer, you are whoever you are. Don't allow that to enter your head, because knowledge can never be power if it is not effective and useful to the public. I always counter the word knowledge is power, because I have seen a lot of people gather knowledge but it did not make it usefully to the others. In fact, some gather knowledge and what they have acquired, some books they read, make them to get mad in the name of trying to become powerful in gathering knowledge. So Voice of the Mission TV actually is coming up to educate, encourage, and emphasize of the major focus of God's purpose for human race. Why do we come into this world as human? Do we just enter into our mother's womb and came into this world and we see ourselves the way we are? I don't think so. There is something God deposited in each of us into this to come and deliver in this world. And so that is why the word mission there you see in the Voice of the Mission is talking about the purpose for which you are going to come into this world to accomplish. And the word vision is the intention of God that He has given to me to bring to the world, to be able to help the people of the world to achieve a goal. Are you a career person who knows very well that your ambition is to become much more better in life as a career person? Voice of the Mission TV has come to encourage you by the information and educative information you'll be receiving. You will realize that there are some people that God has blessed to help you do better in that career. Are you a businessman? Voice of the Mission TV has something to offer to you. Are you a preacher? Voice of the Mission TV has something to offer to you. The reason why we have things to offer to almost everybody is because we are dealing with issues of life. Why did you go to school? Why did you look for a good job? Why did you want to get a house? Why did you want to buy a car? Why did you want to open your own personal business? Is it not just to make sure that life is good, you are surviving, you are not begging anybody for food, you want to be happy, you want people around you to be okay? Is that not why you are doing all you are doing? So it's all about issues of life. Remember that we have an anchor scripture that we are being inspired as a gospel people, as a preacher that I am. There is a scripture that my inspiration is coming from. And that scripture, chapter 4, when we read verse 23, that said, guide your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. Verse 24 said, avoid all perversive talk. Stay away from corrupt speech. You know what this place is talking about. If you quickly refer back to the book of Romans chapter 12, when you go to verse 2, he said, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. If you consider what this scripture is saying here, telling you guide your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. He said avoid all perversive talk. Consider these two scriptures I just quoted. You will discover that the problem of man in this life is about the information you receive. Romans said, do not be conformed to the pattern of this world. You are conforming to the wrong part of life in this world because the kind of information you receive is what determines the direction you go. Proverbs said, guide your heart with all diligence, for that determines the course of your life. How you think and reason about life is as a result of the information you receive. You want to be a career person, the kind of video you watch, the kind of books you read determines how you think about that career. And remember, your career is about because you want to be a person that can stand for himself. It's somebody that can say, I have my ground, I know what I'm doing. But you know, it's important I draw your attention to my guest, the teacher here. A wonderful teacher who have gotten life experience both abroad and in Nigeria, who is also my personal lecturer as it is. I began my study of life as what we call self-study. I bought a lot of books and I studied them by myself. At a point, God blessed me with a wife that know that this might have something to offer to the public, and he began to encourage me to go to university. Here I am in university, become a librarian very soon, and I'm in library and information department. This is my 300 level as I'm talking to you. So there is something upstairs that is boiling that need to come out, and God is now reminding me what he called me many years ago, 20-something, 30-something years ago, which when he told me that I am voice of the nation. Now, why did I come to this level of educational level? Because I want to build myself academically to be able to tell you that there is something inside of you that you must offer. So I want you to hold on and listen to my guest, and when you hear him talk, you will know that there is something that you need to learn that will help your marriage, help your personal life, help your relationship, even help in your educational standard. Some of us in the world today are doing well in business, but not that they went to university. This is the area we begin to have some thought, we begin to have some discussion and reason. If it is possible that somebody must be educated before he becomes successful in life or become wise in what he's doing, you will also be the one to answer that question. At the same time, we also have to look into the area. Must everybody be a graduate or educated person to be able to do better in life, or being wise, or whatever you are doing? If you can do better in life, you will also have a answer to give. In fact, let me say, you have the opportunity to go to your comment session, type in any question you have in mind, send it to us. We will reply your comment. That is why we are out for you. Also take note that you'll be getting more information, more discussion on the area of anything that has to do with life. And it is important I always bring it to our notice that we will be discussing education that have to do with whether you're educated or not. We'll be discussing relationship. We'll be discussing family, that which is one of the major points my guests want to discuss. We're also going to discuss business. we also discuss finance. Maybe the next video you will watch, you will see my beloved wife when she will be talking on business, because my wife surprised me the way she do business. If she determined that this thing is how it's going to be to bring more gain to that business, she doesn't care who is talking, she will go for it. And at the end of the day, I will celebrate her, because I was not very confident in it, as I'm not a businessman. I'm a teacher, I'm a preacher. So sometimes I have a doubt, but she will overlook it and move on. But at the end of the day, I was surprised that the thing is generating a good outcome. So you are going to watch my wife talk to you in the area of business. You can start from somewhere even when you are not a graduate. My wife started the business that you know as in these restaurants in UST Mengate without being educated. And then while the business was going on, she went to Uniport, and today she studied and become a statistics. But she did not continue as educationalist. She come back to that business and develop that business with that IQ. You see what I mean? Now today she is a virtuous woman in my life to fulfill the scripture. The Bible says, he that find a wife, find a good and obtain favor. The Bible says, a virtuous woman is he that buy property, buy a land, and make sure the house is doing well. He said the husband is celebrated at the gate. That is what the Bible said about a virtuous woman. But do you know that you cannot be a virtuous woman if you are not industrious? How will you be industrious? Listening to my wife when she will speak. But for now, we are going to listen to this dog as he's going to educate us on the area of how to manage our marital crisis, and how it is important we give attention whether to educated people or non-educated people when it comes to how to handle matters of life. Please do not neglect Voice of the Mission TV. We are not here to entice you by bringing entertainment. We are here to educate you and make you to be courageous in whatever you are doing. So I want to introduce my beloved teacher for this session, my lecturer personally, my beloved friend, my educator. Is going to come up very soon. His name is Dr. Dimkpa Tangod. Listen to him and you will never regret watching Voice of the Mission TV. God bless you.
Good afternoon, my viewers. My name is Dimkpa Tangod Ndodi. I will be talking on issues of life from Voice of the Mission TV, and I have some questions here that I have to answer today, and I pray that all of you should be patient and listen to my answers to the questions. And number one question is, how do we manage the crisis in marriage, since it involves what to eat, drink, and wear? Number two, can being educated be of help to handling issues of life? And lastly, the third question, must everybody be educated to handle his or her issues of life wisely? So these are the questions, and I pray that you have the strength. God should give all of us the strength to listen to the answers to this question. I know it will help us in our homes, in our communities, in our places of work, and in our neighborhood. I know it will help us. Okay, the issues of life. From this question we have now, how we can manage marriage, how we can manage crisis in marriage, since it involves what to eat, drink, and wear. Like we all know, marriage is ordained by God. From what we know in the Bible, that marriage is ordained by God. Then there are so many things, and there are so many steps we can follow to manage our marriage in terms of food, drink, and wears. But not only that, before we go into that, I know that marriage involves two couples, a husband and a wife. And these two couples are the head of the marriage. And we know that God gave the mantle of leadership of a marriage to a man, and seconded by a woman. It's like president and vice president. So for the Bible too, there are things that are laid down in the Bible that will help us to manage our marriage for us, not just what we think and what we look at. So we can't manage our family or our lives without referring to the Bible. principles in the Bible. There are laid down principles in the Bible that can help us to manage our crisis at home, in our marriage. For example, when we look at 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 1, it's talking about women being submissive to their husband. Being submissive to the husband will also manage the crisis at home. If a woman is submissive to her husband, we also have so many things that affects the home. It affects life. It affects family if care is not taken. And all these things are equally written down in the Bible. For example, if we also look at 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 3, he's talking about wearing of garments or outward braiding of hairs and wearing of gold or clothing. These things are things that affect the family. These things are things that women are supposed to do. Both men and women, we are supposed to wear clothes. We are supposed to wear garments, good one. We are supposed to wear good. We are supposed to wear good things, but not allowing those things, not putting those things first before our family. If we put food first before our family, it means we will destroy our family. Let me tell you one thing that I learned from one man in terms of family crisis or management or how to manage crisis at home. The man said that if you want to manage your wife, if you want to manage your family so that there will be peace in your home, that for the man, you have to do 5 things. Number 1, you should give your wife money. Number 2, you should give her money. Number 3, you should give her money. Number 4, you should give her money. Number 5, you should give her money. Just continue giving her money and the house will be peaceful. But in this case, giving a woman money without without involvement of God in your home, without spiritual involvement in your home, it will still lead to something that will not be, you can never manage as it is going. It will lead to something that you can no longer manage. But if you involve God in everything you're doing in your home, even if you're giving your wife money, it's one of the things that can manage your home, because we know that women, both men cannot live without money, but women love money. Then, in terms of feeding, crisis in home, in your marriage, since it involves food, let's go down to that. If you cannot provide food for your family as a man, there will always be crisis. It will lead to so many things in your home. Your children will be hungry for food and they will not see food. It will make them to start going out to look for food. And for a child to go out to look for food in your neighbor's house, you know what it takes. You know the involvement in that. It will involve your children to mingle with your neighbor's children and start looking for food. And what if your neighbor's children are not godly type? What will happen? Then if your neighbor continue feeding your child every day, if your neighbor is not also the godly type, don't you think it will result to embarrassment? Sometimes they may be saying that if not for we, your children does not have food to eat. If not for we feed your children every time, every day. So these are things that one should endeavor to do. You have to provide food for your family. You have to work hard as a man to provide food for your family. You have to do all this things, work hard, look for work to do things, anything you do, you can do anything to provide food for your family. Like there are some men that they are educated, they are graduates today, but they are not working. But these men are married with children. Still, their family do not go hunger because they are not employed. They look for work. Even if it's a good job, they go out here to look for things to do. There are some boys that I used to see along this sewage area where they dump sewage, where they dump waste. They are there looking for who will come, anything they want to pick. They like to pick things here, valuable things. They are there picking valuable things, and they resell these things to make money and use it to feed their family. They all have families. If you go there, you see matured men, women doing all this. They are not doing it because they are mad. They are doing it because they want to provide food for their family. There are also some men that have money but they cannot provide food for their family. So these things, if you cannot do it, it will always lead to crisis in your home. Some women are full housewives that does not know how to do anything at all. They don't want to work. but they depend on their man. But if this man cannot bring money to fulfill it, there will be crisis, serious one at home. So men should avoid not working anything at all. They should not, like the Bible says, there is no food for lazy man. So every man and woman, even children, should work hard in order to put food in the table. And when there is food at home, I think it will reduce family crisis in a way. Then, that is how it involves what to eat. Then what to drink. Water, drink, and all that. You know, like in my house now, what to drink. Sometimes, drink is in so many ways. You know, sometimes it's alcohol, sometimes it's water, sometimes it's normal drink. Normal drink is just when you're drinking water. Normal drink is when you're drinking soft, and sometimes alcohol or all these things. All these things can equally cause problem if the provision of these things is not there at home. If you cannot provide them at home. But excess of these things is also wrong. For example, let's go into wears, clothing. When you're talking about clothing, some women, if they don't have a costly and very expensive clothes, they cannot go to church to serve God. You can see where God said that, where the Bible said that in Peter chapter 3 verse 3, said that women should not be wearing of garments or outward braiding and hairs and wearing of gold. All these things, that we shouldn't put those things first. We should seek for God first. These things sometimes make women to lose control in God, in believing in God. Some women are in church, but they are going there to look at the highest canopy. I mean, the hair tie they call canopy. They are going there to look at their neighbor's shoe, what their sisters in Christ is wearing today, what they are wearing tomorrow, what they wear next, so they can equally adapt to that. If their husband cannot provide all this, it will stop them from going to church, and it will make them to join societies, groups, and all these social clubs to start looking for money. Some will lead them to halting. So these are things that can cause so many things. It can divide home. It can make a husband and a wife to divorce. But in all, family, marriage is ordained by God. And every man that have a home should lead his wife, his children, to the right way of God. You will know that we are dust. Just like the Bible told us, we are nothing. We are just like a candle. The day our time will be off, we all go to heaven. We all go to where we go to. Nobody knows where we go to except after judgment. So after that, all these things are material things. So we should lead our families to Christ. Lead them to Christ. Also, the Bible made us know that one thing that will make our family to be united is, especially when it involves the woman, the husband must love the wife. You honor your wife. When you honor your wife, then your family will be alright. You don't abuse your wife. You don't compare your wife with other women or your previous partner. You may be somebody that maybe have a partner before you married your wife, or you have a good mother before you married your wife. Always you be telling your wife, if it is my mother cooks good food. If it's my previous wife or my previous girlfriend, those things will even make your wife to abandon you or divorce you or hate you forever. So when you look at all these things, the consequences of all these things, if you are somebody that is into family life, all these things can cause a very bad consequences. It can lead to crisis in marriage. So we have causes too. Some things, we have some causes of crisis in marriage. Like I've mentioned, money, in-laws, children, sex, communication, infidelity, all these things, and food. All these things can cause crisis in marriage. The first one I mentioned here is money. And I've told you, if a man marries a wife without giving his wife money, there will be serious problem. The man should be giving his wife money. If his wife is going out, he should give his wife money. If the man is leaving the house, he should give his wife money. Because women need money even to buy gum, to chew. They need money. And they need money to buy whatever, except you have provided a job or a business for the woman. Then the woman can take care of herself. You don't wish your wife to beg you money to buy on this before you give her money. You don't wait for your wife to beg you money to plait her hair before you know that your wife's hair is old. You don't wait for your wife to beg you money for food before you give her money to cook for you. So you should always know that your wife needs money in as much as you are her husband. And by doing this, you are avoiding crisis. Some women will never allow their husband to go to work if there is no money on the table for food. You see where food is coming again. If their husband did not give them money to buy food, they will hook their husband so that you're not going. Some women do it up to the extent of following their husband to work. If there is no food on the table, they follow their husband to the office. They embarrass their husband in the office. So all this is a family crisis. So to avoid these things, a man should bring in wisdom of God to control his home, to know when to settle a thing and when not to settle a particular thing. The in-laws also, like I said, can cause family crisis. We are going into the causes now, what will lead to this family crisis before we look into things on how we can manage family crisis. So in-laws can equally cause family crisis. For example, you know, when if, as a married man, if my in-laws are in my home, my wife will be monitoring me, how I'm behaving to them, how I'm talking to her mother, how I'm talking to her father, how I'm talking to her sister, how I'm behaving to them. Generally, he will be monitoring me, he will be observing me. But if I behave wrongly, maybe because they have also behaved to me wrongly, even if they are wrong to my wife will not allow me to insult her parents or to do anything wrong to her parents. It will lead to family crisis. Some parents are there just to monitor their wife, their daughter and their husband, or their husband or their son and their wife, just to monitor what they are doing. Some monitor their children up to bed. When the husband and wife is sleeping in bed, their mother will go and monitor. Okay, the children, now the third one, that also causes crisis in marriage. You know, when we have these children, their upbringing is a different thing. The way we bring up our children affects our marriage. There are some children today that are criminals in the society. That is the way they are brought up. Some are not brought up that way anyway, but just for the fact that they allow them to mix up with the society in a wrong way. So they mix up with wrong people and became bad at last. There are some children that their parents are pastors that are armed robbers. There are some children that their parents are native doctors that are also pastors. I mean, the children are pastors. There are children that their parents are even armed robbers that are very good in the society. It depends on how a child wants to grow up and how the parents also bring them up. Sometimes in the family, when parents are supposed to join hands together to bring up children, sometimes you see the mother trying to bring up the children in a godly way, or trying to emphasize on punishing the children when they are wrong. But you see their father sometimes harassing the mother for punishing the children. And children take advantage of such harassment whenever a parent, either mother or father, is trying to bring up a child in a godly way or in a rightful way, and the other parent is attacking the other parent not to do so. You see the child taking advantage. You see the child aligning to the one that is supporting the evil things the child has been doing, and running away from the one that is always attacking the evil things that he's doing. So this makes children to live a kind of life that's by tomorrow, when you see them in the society, they behave anyhow, they do anyhow. I can take a typical example of what happened in my place. It's a story I heard and I confirmed it's true. There is a man in my place that was a notorious criminal, and I heard that it was his mom that initiated him to a horrible society that gave him the power to start terrorizing the area. You know, such a mother initiating a child to a horrible society that gave the child power to start terrorizing area, and the mother was in support of whatever terrorist activities he was doing. His mother was reaping from it, benefiting from it, and very supportive. So this kind of mother, the mother led the child even to early grave, and the mother is still alive. You know, such a home can never be a good home. There is crisis always in such home. Imagine that you sent out your child to school and your child come back with police officers or CIDs to your home under arrest. And what is the issue? That your child stole something, or your child breaks somebody's head, or your child committed murder elsewhere. You know, such training, if you train your child in such a way, it will also come back to you, to return back to you. It's like a law of karma. Whatever goes up but surely comes down. And whatever you sow is what you will reap. If you train your child very well and he becomes a good person in society, you will also reap it. You have seen people in the society, some persons are well to do, some children are well to do, they take care of their parents, they treat their parents well, they are holding big position on trust because they know that they are good from good homes and their character is good, so they can entrust good position to them, position that will attract so many benefits. So these things also return back to the parents. Then if you treat your children wrong, if you treat them wrongly, let me call it wrong treatment, because when you are not training your child in the right way, it means you're treating the child wrongly. If you love your child, you should train your child the way it's supposed to go, because it's written in the Bible that we should train our child the way it's supposed to go, so that when they grow, they will live by the training we have given to them. So these are things that we are supposed to give to children in order to make our family to be free from crisis, free from problem, free from harassment, free from troubles. Children can create a lot of trouble at home. You may just allow your child to mix up with children. Look, watch what will happen. In the next 2 minutes, you will see police coming to knock for you at your door that your child has committed this or committed that. If you train your child very well, your child will go from here to Port Harcourt, go from here to Abuja, go from here to Lagos, and come back peacefully, because your child will know what is good and what is bad, except by accident. Then he can commit anything by accident unknowingly, and you will know that your child cannot do this, but because of a mistake, he made a mistake to do that, you will understand. So all this kind of things, we should avoid them so that our family will be good. And next one is communication. You know, we lack communication sometimes with our wife as men. We need to be communicating with our wife. This communication is not without understanding, it's with understanding. Always we communicate. I remember there was a time I traveled to the UK when I was doing my master's degree. I traveled to the UK. I left my family at home. I have 7 children. I left all of them at home here in Nigeria and traveled to UK with my wife. My wife was in Nigeria. Since I traveled to UK, there was no day I don't call my wife about at least 7 times. If not, some days I'll call my wife 20 times in a day. Some days 6 times. Some days 8, 10, 15 times in a day. I always call her to know how they are faring and to also make her have my feeling, and me too, as I'm calling her, I'm having her feeling. Sometimes we'll do video call to see ourselves. So this is also keeping us in touch. We are always in touch. In the morning I'll call her, I'll call video call, she will see me, I will see her. At times we talk normal talk with a long time. Sometimes I'm ready to waste 2 hours credits on call. I'll be on call for 2 hours talking with my wife. So right now in Nigeria, as I'm in Nigeria now, my wife was at home work, and I'm here in Port Harcourt working. She was at home work doing her business with some of my children. Early hour in the morning, before I wake up from bed, before I will stand up from bed, the first person I will call is my wife. How are you? How are the children? What they are people planning to eat? I will pray with them in the morning before I will drop my phone and move out my own business. As I'm going out my business, my wife will know where I'm going to. Even as she's at home work, she will know that I'm leaving house for work. If I get to office, she will know that I'm in the office. If I'm going for a meeting, my wife will know that I'm going for a meeting. If I'm going back home, my wife will know that I'm going back. Whenever I get home, I will call her that I'm home now. So this kind of communication will even make your wife, when you're not communicating well with your wife, and your wife finds somebody that is communicating with her more than you, you may lose your wife in one way. The love may shift to another direction. Because if a man is communicating with your wife the way you're supposed to communicate, she's missing something from you, which is not supposed to be. You're supposed to be your wife's bestie. The person that everything, even if she's in the toilet and she's having difficulty, my darling, she'll call you. She's not supposed to call anybody for help except you. You will not direct her on who to call for help. The first contact she's supposed to call is you whenever she's in danger. So that communication, if it's not there, then you are losing it out. As a man, even women too also. Everybody, a husband and a wife, we are supposed to have good communication in our marriage to avoid crisis. So when this communication is established, well established, then all crisis is gone. If there is problem, we can settle it at home with our communication, the way we communicate. Another one is sex. Things that we do to keep our family happy. Then, when we talk of issues of life and in marriage, we know that sex is very, very important in marriage. It's also something that affects our life. When we talk of issues of life, in marriage, sex is very, very important. If a man is starving his wife for sex, you know what it will lead to. If a woman is also starving his husband for sex, you know what it will lead to. If let's assume that a man that is starving his wife for sex is tempting his wife, and the woman that is tempting is starving his husband for sex, is also her husband for sex, is also tempting her husband, because one day the temptation may just come. And because the man is not having his wife the way he's supposed to have, the man may be tempted to go out, and the woman may be tempted to go out. And the moment a man goes out, you know the results. And the moment a woman goes out, you know the result. It will become a permanent something if something is not done immediately. So sex should be something that a man and a woman should enjoy, because that is what we call marriage. That is the meaning of that marriage. When a woman, apart from having children, the next thing is sex. The next is happiness, understanding, working together. But sex is paramount, because a family without sex, a couple without sex can never work, except both of them are having issues of not being productive, not being a man and not being a woman. Then they can be robbing themselves here. But sex is very, very important in marriage. Let's assume that a woman marries a woman that is not active in sex. You know, when you marry a woman that is, you know that a woman is not active in sex. If there are things that will make you know that to make her to be active in sex, you introduce her to those things. Also, likewise to women, when a woman marries a man that is not active in sex, the woman should also look for things to introduce her husband to, or her husband should look for things to take. There are things, there are supplements now that are very, very good in sexual activities. So there are also some books that can tell you more about sex in case you don't know how to satisfy your man or satisfy your woman in bed. So all these things are things that we should look into, things that will make us to keep our marriage successfully. Then, when we talk of issues of life, all these things are issues of life, because it involves man and woman. It involves woman. So anything that involves woman is life. We're talking about issues of life. Then we talk of how to manage crisis. How to manage crisis. This crisis in marriage. Our main focus here is issues of life, but we are looking at how do we manage the crisis in marriage, since it involves food, what to eat, drink, and where. We have discussed a lot about what to eat, drink, and where. But let's look at other ways to manage crisis in our marriage. One is understanding that happiness comes from you. There is no way you will be happy on this earth without you motivating the happiness. Nobody can make you happy on this earth apart from God. If you want happiness in your home, it will start from you. If there is no happiness in you, then there is no happiness in your marriage. You have to make your wife happy as the head of the family. Women sometimes make men happy, we know, but happiness starts from each of the couple, the husband and the wife. The wife, sometimes if you watch women saying, they say, me, I'm tired of this, I need to make myself happy. I cannot be following you up and down without making myself happy. In fact, I need to be happy. Why are they saying so? Because they know that their husband cannot make them happy. Their husband cannot give them happiness. Though, at a point, if the understanding is there, the happiness will be flowing from both sides. But if the understanding is fading away, then each of them need to make themselves happy. And how do they make themselves happy? It's by still understanding the family procedure. How is the family moving? How is it affecting their life? These issues of life is everywhere. It is not just in family alone, it is everywhere. So whatever thing we do affects our life. If you're not happy in your home, it will affect you negatively. If you're happy in your home, it will only affect you negatively. Sometimes I will come out of my office, I will be going to office and people will ask me what is happening. I'm sharing, I'm doing this. If I go back, I will remember that I'm very, very happy. Because I'm happy, it affects my lifestyle, it affects my growth, it affects my physical appearance, it affects everything about me, and people will notice and say, you are looking good this time, what's the secret? And I will say, it's my wife. So if my wife is not happy, I won't be happy. If I'm not happy, if my wife is going out also, they will be asking her, why is your face like this? What happened? She may not tell them that my husband looked for my trouble or my husband is not making me happy. But my not being happy is equally affecting her, negatively affecting her life. That is the issue of life we are talking about. So the issue of life we are talking about, everything around you is connected to this issue of life, whether you know it all or you don't know it all. So another one there is to unify your to unify your home. If you want your family to be out of crisis, you unify your home, your children, yourself, your wife, your family members. You unify everybody, make everybody to be one. Because when there is peace at home, there will be no crisis. How can there be crisis when everybody is rejoicing, eating together from one pot, drinking from one pot, from one bottle or one cup, doing things together, sleeping together, no problem, no issue, no quarrel, no nothing. There will be no peace. There will be peace. I mean, always at home. There will be no crisis. It is the issue of life, because it concerns living souls. It concerns people coming together to do things. So, the next one there is never compare your wife or your relation to anybody. Like I said before, I have said it before. There are some men that always say that my previous girlfriend does not behave the way you're behaving. It affects your wife psychologically. Or my mother knows how to cook. You should cook like my mother. If you tell your wife to cook like your mother, you're breaking your home. That is the number one crisis point you're bringing. If you want to relate your wife to anything, let it be that, hey, your mother doesn't know how to cook, she knows how to cook. These things are things that will keep your home going. We know all these things. These are strategies to make your family happy. Don't ever tell your wife that she does not know, because it will kill her spirit. Even if she knows, the little one she knows will die off. Always praise her, because you have to honor her as your wife. She's your wife. She's better than everybody for you. That is the reason why you go for her as a wife. So she's better than all. She's the best for you. So you don't intimidate her. You don't even condemn her in any way. You don't use anything to bring her down, to bring her spirit down, or to cause problem to your home. Then when you're talking to her, even if she does not know how to do, you use diplomacy, the highest diplomacy. That is when you apply wisdom. Because every man that is living happily with his wife is applying so many wisdom. The man is also dying in one corner. The reason why the man is dying is for him to know how to communicate to his wife, so that there will be no problem. Then let's look at togetherness as a point of avoiding, managing crisis. There was a day I went out with my wife and came back home and looked at my wife. She was stressed up. She was feeling somehow. I would talk to her. She was just answering me anyhow. I said, please, can you just escort me? Let me go and pick something outside. She said, no, she's not good. I said, no, it's not something that will affect you. Just escort me, because I'm feeling somehow. I don't know how to get something. If I see drug, I will take. She didn't know. She felt I was sick. She never knew I was not sick. She wore something, me, I wore my clothes, we walked out. I said, let's take a taxi. We entered the taxi. I took her to a place where people were bubbling, eating, drinking. So, how I normally do, if I don't have enough money, I will control whatever I'm buying. But if I have money, I'll tell my wife to order. So, we stayed there and I ordered. She never knew I was taking her to shop place. The moment we entered there, her face changed. She saw people smiling. So people were like, Mother, where down? She started greeting people. So at that moment, I kissed her. She never allowed me to touch her before, but I kissed her. When we kissed, I touched her, rubbed her, we sat down, we ate, we drank, held ourselves and went back home happily and bought some things for the children. So these are ways you stay with your wife together, even at home. Whenever you're back to your house, you stay with your wife together, with your family. You pray together, you eat together, you bake together. These things are it brings in happiness to the home, and they are tablets that keeps away antidote to crisis at home. They chase crisis at home away. Then settling of differences. How do you settle your difference at home? If you quarrel with your wife, do you bring in third party? Yes or no? If you bring in third party, better for you. If you bring in if you settle your problem with his wife alone, better for you also, because already you know that settling your issues with third party will always bring problem to your home. That is inviting crisis. So how to manage it? Whatever difference you have with your wife, know how to talk to your wife. Know the best time to talk to your wife. Your wife will also know the best time to talk to you. These are ways of removing crisis from home. There are issues that I know. I remember a boy, and this is not home even, a boy and a girl. Their boy was married to a man, and the single girl he was dating. So this single girl and the man, they were quarreling. So they brought the issue to the man's uncle. The man's uncle, yes, because the man related to the boy's mother, I mean to say, so it's his uncle. So they brought the issue to his uncle. What did the uncle do? Because the other one is a girl, and they are quarreling. So the man used that to have advantage on the girl. He took the girl away to sleep with the girl. What if that girl was the man's wife? What would have happened? Because third party was involved. That is issues of bringing third party in. You and your wife will be quarreling, you go to a chief and summon your wife. What is the problem? Maybe your wife you don't know how to assess your wife, and you're not taking the issue of you not knowing how to assess your wife to a third party. What do you think you're doing? You are not telling the third party that you cannot, you are not able to handle your wife, that they should come and handle your wife. That is indirectly what you're telling them. But this issue, you can solve it with your wife right in your room. And solutions are everywhere about sex, marriage. Solutions are everywhere. You and your wife can get solution right there in your bed. So no need bringing in third party to your problem. Settle it alone with your wife, and your marriage will be sweet. Another one is express your point without abuse. Like I told you, if your wife offends you and you want to express yourself to her, don't use abusive words. Just talk to her lovely, kindly, with a romantic way. As you're talking to her, sometimes women doesn't need action. If you action your wife, you will see the other side of her, even if she's wrong. But sometimes we should understand that this is the type of wives we have. There are some women that are very submissive, loyal, and they are just down to earth. They don't even need to be talked to before they understand. They don't even need to do anything. You don't even need to give them any knowledge before they will say, I know. They understand. But some now does not understand. So if you are lucky to have such in your home, then you have to manage the crisis of your home by applying all this, because this is issue of life. Remember, when your family is at stake, when there is crisis in your family, your own life is what? At stake. You are in danger when there is problem. Imagine a woman that you love so much, and the woman loves you so much, and she sees you outside with a woman. What will happen? You are already in danger. So if you don't know how to manage it, you may die with it. So women may use bottle to break your head. Some may use, at night they can stab you to death, or they give you drug to kill you while giving you food. So these are things that we have to manage as a man, because it affects our life. Another one is learn to say sorry when you're wrong. The man and the woman, I'm talking about the couples. We learn how to say sorry when we are wrong. How to manage our crisis. I am bringing in all this. I have discussed about food, I have discussed about clothes, I have discussed about drinks. I'm bringing in all this so that we have more knowledge about issues that can bring in crisis and how to manage crisis in our home. So recognize the place of God, to recognize the place of God. But first of all, forgiveness also. The recognize the place of God will come last. Forgiveness is always here. Learn how to forgive your family, your wife, yourself, whomever, because if you forgive, God will also forgive you. It is written in the Bible, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish. Then there is a prayer we should say, that God should forgive us as we forgive those who trespass against us. So those that trespass against us, if we don't forgive them, will God forgive us? God will not. God forgive our sins. That was why he gave us his only begotten Son. The last one I have here is on this issue is as it affects issues of life, is recognize the place of prayer in your home as a child of God. And as a man that have a family that has been handed over to God, do you pray? How do you communicate with God? Because for you to have peace, to be free of crisis, then you must submit yourself to God. You must invite Jesus to your home. You must invite God to your home. Because you are created by God. And you also have to honor Him that have created you. So how is your relationship with God? How is your family's relationship with God? These are things that matter. You can see that a family that prays together, live together, they love themselves. Love is of the Lord. Let's forget about seeing juju priests or whoever loving themselves. There is no love of God. You can never find love of God in any other religion in this world except the love of God that is genuine. Only love of God that is genuine. A Christian that have love for himself, for his family and his children, will always bring the children up in a godly way. You see the children of a Christian behaving well in the society. You see the wife of a Christian behaving well in the society. Have you seen it? If you have seen a Christian wife before, nobody will tell you that this woman is a Christian. This woman is a Christian. You will see her love for her husband. Everything, she will have passion for her husband. Everything about her husband will be sweetening her. Like, what do they call it? Honey. Her food, she will give her husband the best food. She will give her husband the best love. Everything about her is just for her husband. Her movement is for her husband. Her body is for her husband. But if you miss this area of recognizing the place of prayer in your home, then you have missed all about issues of life. Remember, in my place, they say, if you have rejected God, that you are already dead. If you reject God, that you are already dead while living. But if you believe in God, it means you are full of life. How can we talk about issue of life without talking about God that gave us the life? Who gave us this life? It is God. We can never talk anything about life without God. Issues of life. We are talking about it today. So the place of God in our life can only have a great impact on how we live in our marriage. If there is no place for God in our marriage, it means we are already in crisis. Because there is no home without God that has ever lived big. Forget that some persons are living big without God. But spiritually they are dead. Like I told you, that my people say it is everywhere. That if you reject God in your life, that you are already dead while you are alive. If there is no God in your life, you are dead. Because God is the owner of your life. So how can you reject the owner of your own life? He is supposed to reject you, not you rejecting him. So we should bring in prayer. I mean, this prayer here is God. We should bring in God. We should welcome God into our home if we want to enjoy our home. You will see that some persons that are living peacefully today in their home, check their origin, check their background, check everything about them. You see that they are not far from God, because it is only those that knows the law that obeys the law. Who knows the law? Where did the law emanated from? Nigeria is in shambles today. I mean, Nigeria is scattered today because they don't know the law. The law originated from Bible, but they have promulgated several laws in Nigeria that they cannot obey because they don't know it. They are keeping laws they cannot obey. If you know the law, then you obey it. We don't know the law, that's why we're not obeying it. So if we know the law is in the Bible. Every law about marriage is in the Bible. I've never seen anybody that just appeared today, any professor or whoever that started writing laws about marriage is a lie. Every law about marriage is in the Bible. So if we want to respect our marriage, if we want our marriage to last long, then we should go back to our Bible. Take our marriage back to God. What He has given to us. Marriage is ordained by God. So we should take it back to God that ordained it. Without God, that is why our marriage is always scattered. So that takes care of our question number 1. Then we go into question number 2. And it says, can being educated be of help to handling issues of life? Being educated. We have 2 things here, educated and issues of life. When we talk of life, we talk about living things and non-living things. That is animal and man that are living. When we talk of life, we have life. That is why we are talking today. And who gave us this life? It is God. When we talk of educated, can being educated be of help to handling issues of life? Be educated or not? Issues of life concerns human. It is not only for educated people. Issues of life is for both educated and those who are not educated. You know, we have categories of education. When we are talking of education, education is when we are learning. Education is when we are learning. But we have categories of education. We have the primary, we have the secondary, and we have the university. So this education does not mean that if you don't attend the university level, you cannot help yourself in this world. No. Those that have made it in life, most of them are not educated. If we are talking about those that made it, there is a man they were calling before, one engineering company that was at Aba Road. I have forgotten the name of that engineering company. That man used to produce generator in those days. He sells generators and this, and he was an engineer. Even his company name was engineering company. Meanwhile, he was not an engineer. The man has already made it before he started year 1 in school, in the university. There are some persons that have made it without even going to primary school, but they use the wisdom of God. What matters here is the wisdom we use. The question is, can being educated be of help to handling issues of life? The answer is yes, and another answer is no. Because those that made it, that have been able to handle the issues of their life, you know, not all of them that are educated. Some are educated, some are not educated. But the wisdom we apply to this issue of life is what matters. How do we handle our life? How do we live our life? How do we do things in our life? There are some persons that are ordinary mechanic. They didn't go to school. Some didn't go to primary school, some didn't go to secondary school, some didn't go to university. But they know how to fix rods, know how to tighten knots, and know how to fix tires, know how to fix things inside engine that is made by a white man. They can dismantle engine, they can couple it. It's made by educationists, people that went to school. It is made by graduates, people that went to school. But a person that does not have a simple knowledge of education can dismantle it and couple it again. So, what is the education we are talking about? It is wisdom. Some persons are educated, but the wisdom is not there. And where do we derive this wisdom? From God. We derive wisdom from God. Without wisdom, we cannot handle anything about issue of life. It is wisdom. Some persons are educated today, and the education is just name and the position you're handling. In Nigeria today, there are some positions that you need to handle that they need people that are educated. But do we really have educated people in Nigeria? Yes, we do. But some educated people are not educated because they have certificates. They are not educated. There are some persons that are educated that you give a position today to handle, but they cannot handle it. But there are some persons that are not educated that you give such position, they will handle it very well because they have the wisdom. Wisdom is different from education. That is what I want us to understand. Wisdom is different from education. When we talk of literacy and illiteracy, literate is being able to read and write, while illiteracy is not being able to read and write. Some persons are not able to read and write, but in their life, they have made it. Why? Because the wisdom of doing things right is there. Some are computer analysts. If you go to typewriter, if you go for a business center, you see some girls and boys typing letters, typing this, typing that. Take time to ask them with the universities they attended. They will tell you they did not even go to secondary school. So will tell you they went to primary school. Is primary school not school? Primary school is school. Secondary school is school. University is university. It's school. All are school. Just that they call some graduate and they call some undergraduate and they call some illiterate. Some persons, so long as they have primary 6, in those days it was standard 6. Standard 6 those days is even better than university holders, first degree holder. Now, some standard 6 in those days is better than master degree and doctorate degree holders now, in those days. So these are all levels of education that we can use to handle issues of life. But does it mean that without any level of education we cannot handle issues of life? No, is the answer, because we have in the village, we have some persons that are living today. They have wives, they have children. They are making it in the village with their little wisdom, because all hands are not equal. So the issues of life we are talking about here cannot be attached to educated people alone. There are some students right here in this university, River State University, that are schooling. They are schooling here, and fortunately to them, they find their missing rib here, schooling also. And they get hooked up and get married as husband and wife. Still, both of them are in school, maybe level 100, maybe level 200, level 300, or at their final level. But still, they didn't lose focus in their education. They still go ahead with the issues of life. That boy that is a student and that girl that is a student are still providing for the family. The boy is providing what he's supposed to provide for the family, and the girl is providing what she's supposed to provide for the family. So this is issue of life that being educated can equally help to handle if there is that wisdom of God in you as a man. So this issue of life we are talking about, if education can help to handle issue of life, yes. I say yes, and I also say no. So these are the things we have to look into. But notwithstanding, however, we'll look into the next question, because I've talked so much on this question number 2. And the next question here says, must everybody be educated to handle his or her issues of life wisely? If you ask me that, I will only say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that when you are educated, you know, education is a way of acquiring knowledge. It's a learning process. When you are learned, it means you are educated. And we have categories of education. We have illiteracy, we have literate. In this case, we have the literate and we have the illiterate. So the illiterate here are those that cannot read and write. And the literate here are those that can read and write. And in the aspect of literate, we have the primary, the secondary, and the university. But now, what we see as educated person is only those that attend university. I don't know if it is like that in the other part of the world, but in Nigeria, only those that attend university, they can only call you a graduate when you attend, when you have attended university, a higher institution. So if you have not attended, it means you are illiterate. Meanwhile, illiterate is just those that can not read and cannot write. Some persons have attended primary school, but they can read and write even more than some that are in the university. So which category do we keep these people? Are they still illiterate? Somebody that can read and write, some of them have attended secondary school and they can read and write. And in the job descriptions, we have people that can fit into every job description. Like we have the securities, we have the cleaners, we have the clerks, and we have the administrative workers. So the securities can be handled with those illiterates. It means they also have a space to handle their own issue of life. They have a space. The securities, they are paid monthly, they have children, they have wives, and they train their children in school. They can equally go to school and become graduates while working there in this university. Now we have some students that are working with their own level. Some are security, some use their security to work to school, they are at work, they attended a service training, they have moved from primary to secondary, from secondary to university. Some have been converted to lecturers, some have been converted to admin officers, some have been converted to several positions where they attained while working. So there are positions that this category of human beings that I've just mentioned can attain. Like we have the primary school. The primary school, those that attend primary school can work as cleaners, and those that attend the secondary school can work as clerks. Those that attend university can work as admin, managerial. They can take managerial position. So these are the categories of work that people do with their wealth of experience. So it is not it is not everybody that attended the university or educated person that must know how to handle his own or her own issue of life wisely. No. Wisdom also comes in here. That is the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good guide and good judgment. So this quality of being wise is wisdom. So when you have wisdom, you can handle your issue of life from any angle. Wherever you are, you can handle it. I've seen illiterates making it in life. I've seen primary school holders making it in life more than a PhD holder. I've seen PhD holders being trained by primary school holders. I've seen PhD holders being trained by illiterates. I've seen PhD holders being given a wife by illiterates. I've seen PhD holders being helped by illiterates. They go to their houses, they knock, please I need food, please I need money. So if it is a must that everybody must be educated to handle this, then it means we wouldn't have anybody on the streets. The people riding Okada today on the street are educated people. They are graduates. The people they are using for talks today are graduates. So everybody must not be educated before you handle issue of life. It is wisdom. You apply wisdom to your life and you handle it the way you're supposed to handle it. That is why we advise ourselves to be closer to God, because this wisdom of God can never come if we're not close to God. I remember when we say, I have gone astray. I have gone astray means you have forgotten things you're supposed to do. That is when the wisdom is out of you. When you forget things you're supposed to do, it means you have gone astray. You are a follower before, you are a Christian, and you do things rightly, you know the laws of the Bible, and all of a sudden you backslided. You know that you are backslided. Then before you now realize that you have to tell people that you have gone astray, it means you know what you have been doing. The wisdom of God is no longer in you. And you know that you've lost so many things. So when the wisdom of God is in us, my dear, we can make it with whatever level we are. Whether illiterate, no illiterate, primary, secondary, university, we can make it. The issue of life depends on how we handle things in our life. Are we wise to take 1 naira to make 20 naira? Or are we wise? Remember the issue of, in the Bible, there is a story in the Bible that a master gave his servants money. One of them dug the ground and buried his own money, while the other used the money to trade. Before his master came back, the other one that used the money to trade have made double, while the other one that dug the ground and kept buried his own, brought it out and handed it over to the master, that he knows that his master is a wicked man, that this is the money he gave to him, that he should take his money. So what happened to that one? The one that made enough money, the one that made more profit out of the one that was given to him, what also happened to him? So it depends on how we use our wisdom. The one that used wisdom to use the money to trade, he made it. Both of them might be illiterate, both of them might be graduates, but the wisdom of using the money to make more money was not there in the other person. That was why he dug the ground and kept the money. Why this one used the wisdom of God to multiply his own? So that is the issue of life we are talking about. How do we handle it? Handling issues of life. How it affects us. It affects our family, it affects our relation with people, it affects our marriage, how we handle our marriage. Still issue of life. So these are things that we have to look into in life. Before you make it in life, you have to apply wisdom, the wisdom of God. We should be closer to God. We should do everything with God. We should bring our family to God. So in conclusion, we have discussed about some issues today that we need to go back home with, like how to manage our family crisis, and also how to handle things of how to handle issues of life, if education can be of help to handle the issues of life, and also if everybody must be educated before you handle issues of life. We have discussed about all this today, and we have mentioned, or we have talked on a lot of points that will help us to go back home and rethink on how to handle issues of life in our homes, in our education, in our career, in our community, and in our neighborhood. So, and we pointed out so many things that will be of help, so many remedies that will help to restore back peace in our home, that will help to chase away crisis in our home. And I believe that after today, anybody that have listened to this interview will not fall a victim of creating more crisis in his family, or lacking the wisdom of handling issues of life the way it's supposed to be. With what we have learned today, I believe that everybody can now fit in into wherever they are supposed to belong to, and also to work hard in life. Because from what we discussed, we know that some things are contributed to crisis in marriage, which we earlier mentioned, and we know that there are also some things, some remedies that can contribute to unite your marriage, to keep away crisis in your marriage. And there are things that we say we should do, and there are things we say we shouldn't do. So those things should be put into practice. And I want to tell everybody that is watching me and listening to me, that the more you do all these things, I know that God will give up the strength and the enabling environment to put all these things into practice. So, and the more you do it, the more you will restore back peace to your home. And you know what keeps God happy, what gives us happiness is peace. When we are living in harmony in our home, that is how heaven is also happy. God is happy with us, and God blesses us more when there is peace in our home. When there is trouble in our home, you know that is the room of Satan. Any home that there is problem, know that the absence of God is not, the attention of God is no longer there, because it is we that invite Satan to take over our home. We are complaining about our country today, Nigeria. Nigeria have invited Satan to take over Nigeria. That is why we are complaining. But as soon as God comes in, turns his attention to Nigeria, you see that everything will be normal. Because the Bible says, when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. I think I have to end my speech here today, because we have talked a lot. And I want to thank all of you, my viewers, those that have been standing, sitting, and paying attention attentively to what I have said today. I want to appreciate all of you. Thank you, and God bless you all.
I want to thank you for watching, and keep watching Voice of the Mission TV. Keep subscribing, keep sharing, and keep making your comment. One love.